into some real shenanigans. And we have done that on this podcast while also trying to be as professional as we possibly can, which with me, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, it ranges somewhere between 3 and 6. Sometimes I can get up to a 7, but I'm going to need to have lots of rest and maybe like a warm glass of milk the night before. Look, it doesn't matter. All I'm trying to say is we've had a great year here on the H&M Trucking podcast. We've spoken to a lot of interesting people. We've learned a lot of things about how to do our job correctly. Mostly mine happens in closed door meetings with management, but that's something we can get into later. Right now, I've got something really awesome planned for you. I had producer Mike, the best producer in all of the land, sit down the other night and actually put in some extra credit time listening to me even more than he already does, because he went back and found clips from episodes throughout the year, some of our favorite moments, some of the things that we thought were worth a replay, and some of the other stuff just kind of make you laugh or make your heart warm, or, you know, one of those feelings that people get. I say people because sometimes they're really dull in my life. Like, I'm trying. I really am. Paint that smile on, boy. Just keep it, hit them right in the face with it. I've completely lost track of what I'm talking about. Let's get to the year in review for the H&M Trucking podcast. 2023 was a good one. I can't wait to see what 2024 holds. Since you're the HR manager, you've got a real good sense of what we can and cannot bring up. So I figured we'd just do that right here, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. We should probably set some ground rules like that. That's probably good.
Yes, I'm glad you're on board. So specifically, can we talk about who you're pissed off at right now?
I think that's open. Yeah.
That's open?
I think we can probably talk about that. Yes, that's good. Good.
Okay. Well, that's a warning to everybody listening right now that you don't want to get on your bad side.
I feel like that could be a deterrent for them to not really piss me off every day. So I think we can work with that. Okay, keep going. We're on board there.
Okay, think about that, H&M. Have that in the back of your head every morning, and maybe bring Eve a gift at the beginning of the week just to try to keep yourself off the podcast. This one's a little bit like the first one, but how about your favorites, your favorite employees, or by contrast, your least favorite employees?
You know, I don't have any favorites. I love them all.
Spoken like a true HR manager. And since you're going to be a regular guest on the show, I thought that it would be kind of cool if we talked about whether or not you and I need some kind of cool sign-off to say, because Scotty Beals left us with something that not only when I talked to him on the phone to set up the interview did he use his sign-off, but he signed off the podcast episode as well. That would be episode 16 or 17 of Unplugged OTR if you want to go back and listen to it. And I'm not even going to try to do it justice because he has this thing memorized and he drops it like it's just another thing that he says every single day. But what do you think? I mean, obviously, you know me. You know that I'm really going to push hard to give myself a cool sign off. Do you want to sign off? Do you have something that you think you could say to kind of leave the listeners wanting more?
You know, one thing I always tell my kids as they walk out the door is wear your seatbelt. So I feel like in HR, that actually is kind of my sign off. Every time one of my kids walks out the door, I say, wear your seatbelt. Now, do they? Gosh, I hope so. The other thing is I always say, look both ways before you cross the street. So
those are both such practical, good pieces of advice.
It's my mom advice right there. That's what I got. Well,
and it doubles up. I mean, you need your drivers to be buckling up too. Otherwise we get back to this whole make sure you report it thing, which you don't want to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Well, I've got a few here that I've put together, and I just want your thoughts on whether or not I should use these as sign-offs. If I said something like, so long and thanks for all the skid marks.
It's fitting for you, but I just don't know that you quite have nailed the connotation in that.
Okay.
You probably could go for it. Maybe just go for it. Go for it.
You want to just call me Skid Mark? I mean, my name is Marcus. You could shorten it. I could just be Skid Mark to you.
Love to.
How about this? Keep it in Georgia overdrive and aim for the lollipops.
What does that even mean?
Okay, that's a little bit of CB talk there. Georgia overdrive is when you're going downhill fully loaded and you just pop it into neutral and let Jesus take the wheel. And then the lollipops are going to be the little reflectors on the side of the highway. So this was definitely tongue in cheek.
Okay. See, you are really picking up some of these trucker things. Like, that's impressive.
Thank you. I one day dream to have my own CB radio in the Silverado so that I can just act like I'm a trucker. I don't think that I could do the job. It's way too much for me. I've got all this ADHD and insecurities and all the other stuff that we'll get to that was in that novel I requested from the doctor. But I just want to talk to him.
We're going to be the judge of that next week.
Okay, we will.
When we go through the orientation, yes.
Okay, so now that you know a little bit more about what I was saying there with that first one, how about this? Keep it out of Georgia Overdrive and steer clear of the lollipops.
I like that one better.
I bet you do. As an HR manager, I can imagine.
Less paperwork.
Now, one of my fellow coworkers actually told me that because this is the state I live in, I should use it as one of my sign-offs. So what about keep chopping wood and so long from the beaver state? She's laughing at me. You just can't hear her. I
just can't, Marcus. I can't. You can't.
Okay. I understand.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I've only got one more, Eve. And this one is actually something that I saw in the store. And I know that doesn't sound like how, but what if I just said, stay fresh, cheese bags?
Marcus.
Because that's a thing I saw in the store. It was called a stay fresh cheese bag. And I was like, what a great sign off. Stay fresh, cheese bags.
I guess if you were talking to a bunch of college kids, that could maybe, like, what is the audience here? Because I don't think that, Marcus, what are we going to do?
See?